You mentioned how mystified observers of this have been, members of the leaders' conference as well. Certainly, we saw a tweet today from Senator Susan Collins of Maine, who was hugely influential in that vote over the health care legislation. She wrote, Majority Leader McConnell understands the Senate is a deliberative and diverse body. He enjoys broad support in our caucus. What has the relationship been like between the Majority Leader and the President over these last 7-8 months?
These are two extremely different men with vastly contrasting governing styles, David. You have freewheeling, sort of spontaneous approach from the president versus an extremely disciplined and methodical, strategic approach by Senator McConnell. McConnell doesn't speak out of turn. He doesn't speak off the cuff. Everything he says is carefully crafted and designed, and the president is pretty much the opposite. So, there wasn't much of a relationship before Donald Trump took office as president, and since then they have to work together. So it's been a strictly professional relationship. McConnell has refrained from criticizing the president, essentially refrained from saying anything negative about the president beyond critiquing his tweeting habits from time to time. But he took things a little bit further while he was trying to defend why the Senate has gotten so little done in Trump's first 200 days, and I think that's what started this whole thing off on Monday.
Yeah, before we got these direct attacks or tweets of trying to motivate the Senate Majority Leader, there were tweets about changing the Senate rules. It's clear the president's frustrated with how deliberative the world's greatest deliberative body is. How are those tweets, those comments being interpreted by Leader McConnell and others in the Republican conference, the president's desire here to go to a sort of super nuclear option?
Right. The president has, as you correctly point out, said this on numerous occasions, tweeted that the Senate should end the 60-vote threshold for legislation and go to a simple majority. A couple of things about this. Number one, Senator McConnell has rejected this every step of the way. He has not been, equivocating on this. He is simply opposed to that idea of ending the legislative filibuster. And McConnell hasn't gone after Trump on this particularly. He's just said, no, this is not going to happen, and there's not support in the Republican Senate caucus at this point to do that. The other interesting thing is that one reason that Republican aides I've spoken to don't understand why the president is saying this is that the main legislative battle so far has been on health care. That has been on a 50-vote threshold. They don't need 60 for that, and they weren't able to get it on 50. So it boggles the mind, I think, of Republicans as to why the president was picking that fight to argue that the legislative filibuster should be eliminated.